Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Wednesday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Diana Master. In the news tonight, the Namibian police are investigating the disappearance of 446 diamond parcels stolen during a dramatic heist at Namibia Desert Diamonds, Namibia. Initial reports suggested that suspects fled the scene have been dismissed, with evidence pointing to potential involvement by insiders and others who exploited the confusion during the incident. The robbery, valued at approximately 350 million Namibian dollars, allegedly involved Namibia security officer Joel Angula, a former police instructor who is accused of masterminding the operation. Angula reportedly collaborated with accomplices Sam Shololo and the late Max Njala, resulting in the death of his supervisor, Francis Aseb. While 13 diamond parcels were recovered at Angula's residence, the majority remain missing, sparking concerns about the vulnerability of security measures at Namibia. Authorities now suspect that some of the missing diamonds may have been taken by individuals who arrived at the scene during the chaos. Njala's alleged involvement in the robbery has shocked those who knew him. A respected Namibian sports figure and former Trustco executive, he was known as a dedicated investigator with a strong sense of justice. Colleagues and friends described him as kind but uncompromising, with a passion for rooting out misconduct. A skilled squash player and national team member, Njala was seen as a champion for Namibian sports. Angula appeared in court facing serious charges including murder, robbery, attempted murder, and possession of uncut diamonds. His bail was denied and the case was postponed to the 23rd of May for further investigation. Shololo, who was injured during the robbery, remains under police guard and will face similar charges once he has been discharged. Meanwhile, questions about Njala's death remain unresolved, with reports conflicting on whether it was a suicide or homicide. Now, police have revised initial claims that 2 suspects fled the scene, now stating that no additional suspects escaped. Investigators are focusing on profiling potential suspects based on lifestyle changes. A planned joint press conference by Namibia and the police has been postponed indefinitely, leaving uncertainty about the investigation's progress. Keeping with the Namibia heist, Popular Democratic Movement PDM President McHenry Vunani has called for the suspension of Namibia's entire board of directors and executives in the wake of the shocking diamond heist, which saw gems worth 300 million Namibian dollars stolen, reports the Namibian newspaper. Vunani urged Mines Minister Tom Alwendo to appoint a caretaker chief executive to replace Namibia CEO Alisa Ampolo, stating the chief executive and head of security must be relieved immediately to allow for a thorough investigation. He also called for the removal of police officers suspected of involvement in the heist to ensure an impartial investigation. Describing the theft as a well-planned operation involving senior figures, Vunani alleged the existence of a planned cartel behind the heist. He emphasized the need for international collaboration, suggesting that Interpol, along with South African and Botswanan authorities, be involved in the investigation. We need external support because our police lack the capacity to handle a heist of this magnitude, Vunani was quoted as saying. Vunani also criticized Namibia's Central Intelligence Agency for failing to prioritize state security, accusing them of being asleep on the job. He called for stronger measures to ensure accountability within the agency. Vunani concluded by highlighting the potential damage the heist could inflict on Namibia's reputation in the global diamond market, urging swift action to restore trust and security. Now, Namibia's newly enacted Marriage Act of 2024, which prohibits the recognition of same-sex marriages, is sparking outrage and legal scrutiny, according to a report by the Namibian newspaper. Signed into law by President Nangolo Mbumba, the act reverses a 2023 Supreme Court ruling that required the recognition of same-sex unions legally concluded outside Namibia. The law defines marriage strictly as a union between a man and a woman, excluding same-sex couples from legal recognition under civil and customary law. Human rights activist John Nakuta has criticized the legislation as unconstitutional, arguing that it violates the Equality Clause of Namibia's constitution. He says the law appears designed to sidestep the Supreme Court's ruling and believes it can be successfully challenged in court. Lawyer Carly Schikkeling, who has previously represented same-sex couples in Namibian courts, echoed Nakuta's concerns. She called the law discriminatory and confirmed that legal representatives would meet this week to plan their response. Schikkeling emphasized the financial burden this fight imposes on clients, but said the LGBTQI+ community cannot allow such provisions to go unchallenged. Equal rights activist Friedel Dausab described the law as a direct attack on the dignity and rights of LGBTQI+ Namibians. He said it fuels stigma, discrimination, and a sense of exclusion, leaving LGBTQI+ individuals feeling unsafe in their own country. Linda Ballman, another human rights activist, warned that the legislation sets a dangerous precedent by institutionalizing discrimination. She cautioned that the public might misinterpret the law as criminalizing same-sex relationships, potentially exacerbating societal discrimination and violence. Despite these challenges, Ballman expressed hope in the resilience of Namibia's LGBTQI+ community and the growing advocacy for equality. SWAPO lawmaker Jerry Akanjo, who tabled bills to amend the Marriage Act of 1961 and block same-sex marriage recognition, declined to comment on the matter. Now, Tsumeb Municipality Finance Manager Carolina Damaseb is seeking reimbursement of approximately 1.3 million Namibian dollars in legal fees after being cleared of corruption, dishonesty, fraud, and forgery allegations that led to her suspension in July of 2021. In a letter dated 16 January addressed to acting CEO Frans Nkali, Damaseb formally requested compensation for the legal costs incurred during the 3.5-year disciplinary process. She explained that to ensure proper representation in the complex case, she had engaged advocate SS Makando Chambers, which resulted in legal fees totaling 1,270,000 Namibian dollars 994. She described the financial burden as considerable and emphasized that the case had serious implications for her professional reputation and employment. Tsumeb Mayor Matthew Hangula confirmed that the disciplinary matter was finalized in December 2024, but stated that the council has yet to receive the official report from the committee that handled the case. He added that the council would deliberate on the matter after the report is presented in a meeting scheduled for next week. Hangula declined to share further details until the council's discussions take place. Damaseb, who was found not guilty on the 4th of December 2024, expressed relief over the outcome but declined to comment on her reimbursement request. She said she had always known she was innocent and chose to wait for the case to conclude rather than resign. Reflecting on the ordeal, Damaseb described the past 3 years as challenging, noting the reputational damage and strained relationships with family, colleagues, and the community. She also said the allegations prevented her from applying for other jobs during this time. The case stemmed from Damaseb's decision to investigate two subordinates, senior accountant John Amutenya and property officer Gerson Kautondokwa, following recommendations from the Auditor General's 2018 audit report. Her actions led to retaliation from the two employees who filed grievances against her, resulting in her suspension. The council, which had not approved her investigation, placed her on forced leave. In 2023, Amutenya was dismissed after being found guilty of misconduct based on the investigation's findings, while Kautondokwa was cleared and remains employed. Damaseb said she felt vindicated by the not guilty verdict and was pleased that her name had been cleared. The council is expected to deliberate on her reimbursement request once the report on the case is formally represented. Now, closing off our top stories, the Windhoek City Council has finally elected a new mayor after 2 failed attempts due to political disputes. Ndeshihafela Laranja of the Independent Patriots for Change IPC was elected yesterday as the capital's new mayor, securing 9 out of 12 votes against Austin Kwenani of SWAPO, who received 3 votes. Laranja will be deputized by Clemencia Hanases from the Popular Democratic Movement PDM. The council also elected a new management committee chaired by Ilse Keister of Affirmative Repositioning AR. Other members include Joseph Wapingene from NUDO, Francina Kahunga SWAPO, Jurgen Hecht IPC and Bernardus Arayeb IPC. Magistrate Emmanuel Unjombala, who presided over the election, said the committee's term will run until November, as the election should have taken place in December. Jurgen Hecht credited the opposition parties IPC, AR, NUDO and PDM for working together to unseat SWAPO. This unity comes after years of tension, notably when AR sought to remove IPC members from the management committee in 2022 over allegations of incompetence and misconduct, which IPC dismissed as baseless. Absent from the meeting were Landless People's Movement councillors Sade Havanas and Ivan Skrever. Kavanas was hospitalized while Skrefa was occupied with legal matters related to the LPM's election challenge. Both had informed the council of their absences, according to LPM spokesperson Lifalaza Simata. In her acceptance speech, Laranja promised to prioritize the needs of Windhoek's residents. She emphasized tackling issues such as sanitation and water shortages, which she described as both a moral responsibility and essential for enhancing the city's potential as a global tourism destination. She also called on councillors to focus on achieving the goals outlined in the city's 2022 to 2027 strategic plan and to leave a lasting legacy for future leaders. Laranja expressed a vision for a thriving Windhoek where every neighborhood prospers and citizens feel pride in their city. That brings us to the end of our top stories. After the break, we bring you our Community Talk segment. Now tonight in our Community Talk segment, Rossing Uranium handed over a donation of 1.25 million Namibian dollars to the Ministry of Health and Social Services, specifically the Erongo region, focusing on 3 different projects. Here, Johan Kutsia, MD of Rossing, shares that the money has been allocated to renovating the psychiatric ward at the Walvis Bay District Hospital, construction of the boundary wall at Swakopmund District Hospital, and the procurement of laundry equipment for the Usakos District Hospital. This video is courtesy of Leandria Moore.
Decided on 3 projects. The first project is upgrading the mental ward on the first floor of the District Hospital of Walvis Bay. We went through there and we saw there's a lot of work to be done. That people has got special needs sometimes, and we have to give them a secure area where they can be treated and where they can feel safe in the problems that they are facing. That project will be completed by 28th of February. There's still some work that NIMT has to do there to assist us in that, but that project will then be completed. The second project that we are doing is the assisting a little bit with the security arrangements around the district hospital here in Swakopmund, where we are basically just erecting a wall at the entrance to the hospital and just make it a bit safer not to give access for people to just walk in there and get to people's cars. So we don't only want to protect the safety and the health of patients, but also the people working there, that they also feel a bit more secure in having their property in that premises. And then the third project we're sponsoring is obviously at the District Hospital in Isakos. They've been struggling now for years with washing of their linen and their laundry. All machines are broken down, so they're making use of external service providers in Isakos and outside of Isakos, and it's really a struggle to make sure that they've got clean linen for all the patients that's there. Those machines, laundry machines, should be in the country towards the end of next week, we've heard, and then that project will also be completed.
Coming up after the break, the dollar continued to struggle on Wednesday, hovering near 2-week lows against major currencies as financial markets grappled with the uncertainty over President Donald Trump's tariff plans. Stick around for economic news coming up after the break. Tonight in economic news, the dollar continued to struggle on Wednesday, hovering near two-week lows against major currencies as financial markets grappled with uncertainty over President Donald Trump's tariff plans. Trump reignited trade concerns late Tuesday by discussing a potential 10% tariff on Chinese imports starting February 1st, the same date he previously threatened 25% levies on goods from Mexico and Canada. He also warned of tariffs on European imports but provided no specifics. Despite the renewed threats, the lack of clear plans contributed to a 1.2% slide in the dollar at the start of the week, with a brief stabilization on Tuesday after U.S. officials indicated that any tariffs would be introduced gradually. The dollar index, which measures the greenback against six major peers, dipped 0.1% to 108, lingering near Tuesday's two-week low of 107.86. Deutsche Bank's Jim Reed noted that Trump's comments create near-term uncertainty as the outcomes of his executive orders on trade will take time to unfold. On Monday, Trump signed a broad trade memorandum directing federal agencies to review trade issues by April 1st. The dollar showed minor gains against the yen, rising 0.13% to 155.715 yen, recovering slightly from the previous session's one-month low. The euro remained steady at $1.04, close to its two-week peak, while the pound sterling edged down to $1.23 after hitting a one-and-a-half-week high. Analysts suggest Trump's policies on trade, immigration and taxes could stimulate growth but may also stoke inflation. However, the more measured tone on tariffs has tempered inflation fears, with traders now anticipating a Federal Reserve interest rate cut by July and possibly another by year-end. Now, other currencies saw mixed movements. The Canadian dollar held steady at 1.43 per US dollar after a volatile week driven by cooling inflation data. The Mexican peso gained 0.19% to 20.57 per dollar, while China's yuan weakened slightly to 7.27 per dollar offshore, following a brief surge to its strongest level since December 11th. Alvin Tan, head of Asia FX strategy at RBC Capital Markets, highlighted that Trump's proposed 10% tariff on Chinese goods is far below the 60% rate discussed. During his campaign, he added that Trump's initial actions suggest he may be positioning for trade negotiations rather than pursuing aggressive protectionism, a stance that could exert additional pressure on the US dollar. Now let's take a look at the financial indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 22.92 to the British pound, 19.09 to the euro, 18.09 against the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 50 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. Looking at commodities, gold and platinum on an upturn of 0.20 and 0.28% respectively, while copper and Brent crude oil took a dip of 0.20 and 0.13% respectively. Coming up in international news tonight, Kenya takes a bold step toward regional integration by scrapping its controversial electronic travel authorization for nearly all South African nations. And in South Korea, a tragic plane crash that claimed 179 lives has prompted sweeping safety upgrades at 9 airports, including the removal of hazardous barriers and extended runway safety zones. Stick around for these stories coming up your way. In international news tonight, Kenya will now allow citizens of nearly all African countries to enter without prior authorization following a new directive by the cabinet. This decision eliminates the controversial electronic travel authorization (ETA), which was introduced last year and criticized as a visa under another name. Under the updated system, visitors from African nations except Somalia and Libya, due to security concerns, will no longer need the ETA to travel to Kenya. They can now stay visa-free for up to 2 months. Citizens of East African Community EAC member states, including Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi, will be allowed to stay for up to 6 months in line with regional policies. The cabinet emphasized that this move aims to support open skies policies, boost tourism, and promote regional integration. This comes as Kenya seeks to reverse its drop in the Africa Visa Openness Index, where it fell to 46th out of 54 nations in 2024. In addition to this change, the government announced plans to enhance travel processes, introducing instant approvals and a maximum processing time of 72 hours for those still requiring authorization. Several ministries have been tasked with proposing measures within a week to improve the traveller experience at Kenyan airports. Before the ETA's introduction, visitors from over 40 countries could enter Kenya without paying a fee or prior application. However, the ETA system required travellers to apply and pay $30 at least 3 days before their trip, sparking criticism for making travel more complicated. The ETA was initially implemented as a security measure to vet travellers, with Kenya having faced threats from Al-Shabaab militants in the past. Now, while the ETA is now removed for most African visitors, the government plans to introduce a system to improve pre-screening, enhance security, and streamline processing at entry points. Kenya's decision aligns with the broader continental push for easier travel spearheaded by the African Union. Other nations like Ghana and Rwanda have also adopted similar policies to facilitate free movement across Africa. Now, South Korea is making major safety upgrades at 9 airports following December's devastating plane crash that claimed 179 lives, the deadliest in the nation's history. The Jeju Air flight carrying passengers home from Thailand after Christmas crashed during an emergency landing at Muan International Airport, striking a concrete barrier and exploding. The crash investigation has prompted a comprehensive review of airport safety systems. Officials have identified 9 locations, including Muan and Jeju International Airport, where concrete barriers housing navigation systems known as localizers will be replaced with lightweight or underground structures. Muan Airport's barriers will be entirely removed and rebuilt using breakable materials. The Transport Ministry acknowledged that the navigation system's current design could exacerbate crash fatalities. In response, runway safety areas at 7 airports, including Muan, will also be extended after it was discovered they fell short of the recommended 240 meters. Muan safety area at just 200 meters did not meet international standards designed to minimize crash damage. Safety concerns had been flagged before the crash. A 2024 operations manual for Muan International Airport highlighted the close proximity of the concrete embankments to the runway and recommended a review during the airport's planned expansion. Veteran pilot Chris Kingswood explained that obstacles near runways should be frangible, meaning they break apart on impact to reduce damage during accidents. The crash revealed that the concrete barriers at Muan did not meet the standards. The disaster unfolded as the Boeing 737-800 attempted a second landing after reporting a bird strike during the first approach. Investigators found the landing gear failed to deploy and flight data recorders stopped functioning 4 minutes before the crash. Now, the 179 victims ranged in age from 3 to 78, with most passengers in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Only 2 cabin crew members survived the crash. Now, let's take a look at the weather predictions. Katima Mulilo can expect some showers, maximum temperatures around 28 degrees Celsius and minimum temperatures of 19 degrees Celsius. In Windhoek, some showers are also to be expected, though minimum temperatures will be around 20 degrees Celsius and maximum temperatures around 31 degrees Celsius. Looking over at the coast, partly cloudy conditions are expected in Walvis Bay. Minimum temperatures will be at 19 degrees Celsius and maximum temperatures are expected to be around 24 degrees Celsius. In Ariamsvlei, though, bright and sunny skies are to be expected. Maximum temperatures will be scorching hot at 38 degrees Celsius and minimum temperatures at 22 degrees Celsius. Now, in some sports news, Black Africa Football Club is grieving the loss of its founding president, Joseph Mihe Kgwagoseb, who passed away in Windhoek on the 15th of January at the age of 88. The club's executive secretary, Anton van Wyk, hailed Kgwagoseb as a visionary leader who left an indelible mark on Namibian football. Describing him as a pioneer, Van Wyk highlighted Kgwagoseb's role in fostering a sense of unity, discipline, and pride among players and supporters. His passion for football inspired countless young athletes and contributed significantly to the growth of sport in Namibia, Van Wyk was quoted as saying. He emphasized Kgwagoseb's drive for excellence and his commitment to nurturing local talent, particularly during the challenging period of the club's founding in 1964. Kgwagoseb's influence extended beyond the field. He was celebrated for using sport to uplift and unite the community, helping to shape Namibia's cultural identity through a shared passion for football. His legacy as a leader and advocate for the game will resonate for generations, Van Wyk added. Beyond his football achievements, Gogoseb served as a caretaker at Centauros High School for 35 years and was skilled in carpentry. His daughter Hilary Gogoseb confirmed that he will be laid to rest on the 1st of February at the Old Location Cemetery in Windhoek. Gogoseb is survived by 10 children and 15 grandchildren. The Black Africa family and Namibian football community will remember Joseph Mia Gogoseb as a pioneer whose contributions transcended sport, leaving a legacy of resilience, unity, and excellence. And with that, we've come to the end of today's broadcast. Make sure you join Sunset News on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 25, as well as on our website 102.com. Sunset News screens every weekday from 7:30 to 8 p.m. I am Diana Master, and this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.